Hey guys, how y'all doing? We'll go ahead and give it a few minutes and then we'll go ahead and get started. Hey, what's going on, Ed? Good to see you here. Always good to see some familiar faces. Got the chat in the top or the bottom left of the stream, so you guys can keep up to date with that. What's going on, Lewis? Good to see you here as well. Gonna give it a few minutes, let everyone get in here. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. What's going on, Contrarian, GMGM, music upload? It's going great. Thanks for asking. Nice little bounce on this Sunday. I'm actually going to talk about why I think we could have a continued relief rally here over the next week and a few catalysts that we have upcoming. What's going on, Sparacos? Good to see you here. Hamzario, hey, how's it going? Lewis says, hope you're having a great week. Hey, likewise, hope you guys are having a great week. The market's been very, very choppy the past few months, and I think we're due for a relief bounce. I think we're due. A lot of indicators are oversold, mean reverting, and so yeah, I think it's gonna be a good time. What's going on, Christopher? Good to see you here. Bruno, Tim, a lot of good people. Let me know if you guys can hear me real quick. Just type in a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me. Just want to make sure everything is recording correctly. See, music said opinion on KT. Okay, sweet. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. It's going to give another 30 seconds here, then we'll go and get started in the stream. Music says opinion on KTA, crazy dumb recently. No thoughts on KTA. So originally, KTA is a good project, but I think that it's all, this game is based off attention, right? And so if KTA is not getting the right attention, if whales are in it continuously dumping, it could have the best tech in the world, but if you have a lot of tokens being dumped on the market, that's not going to help anyone, unfortunately. Victor, greetings from Paraguay. Hey, awesome. One of us in Paraguay. Seems like a great place. Luis has been touching grass, as you said, helps a lot, and exercise. Luis, that's awesome. And guys, I got to stress this. During these volatile times, please touch grass. Please start exercising if you're not. Please eat healthy, meditate, get some sun, pray, and just in general enjoy life, because this market's going to be here when you get back. You're not going to miss much. And so come back when you're refreshed mentally, because health is wealth. And then after that, you can come and hit it hard. Explorer says all set. Awesome, guys. Christopher says, all right, what are we going to cook this bear market? Oh, we're going to cook a lot of stuff, guys. Stay tuned. We're going to profit whether it's a bear or bull. I just have to adjust my trading strategy accordingly, but I'm getting all the tools needed. I'm actually looking at some indicators, which I'm going to show you guys, that are fairly accurate. So stay tuned for that. Zalan, no thoughts about FWOG, honestly. No thoughts about FWOG. With that, guys, let's go ahead and get started. So 24-hour liquidations. $230 million, longs 87 million, shorts 143. What does that tell us? That tells us that finally shorts are starting to get more liquidated than longs. We may start seeing a shift because it's been nearly 50-50, right? There's been a lot of chop. The market's always had a short-term relief bounce and then a further drop. I think now we're getting close to a more stable relief bounce this time around with not having a sharp drop just yet. And I'll show you guys a couple reasons why and tell you of some catalysts that we still have upcoming. But this is a good sign. At least shorts are finally starting to get more liquidated. This shouldn't be concerning until we get to, say, 800 to a billion. And then, okay, maybe local top is in, then we reverse on that, if this is finally the local bottom. Now, let's go ahead and look at some liquidation heat map data. So we can see that right now, Bitcoin is at around that 87.4K level. Still very, very good with price action. It tapped this liquidity to the upside. Now, the final liquidity is going to be around 88.2K. This is going to be a big resistance level. And I say resistance in the term of meaning more of a mean reversion area. So when we reach 88.2K, we could end up curving back to the downside. So just be careful late longing here, guys. I'm waiting for some confirmation for the daily and weekly close today. But if it is strong, then I will look to long. And then we do have some support around 86.4K. So stay tuned for that. If we do have a reversion to the downside, we could look at 86.4 as being a good bounce level. And then further below that, 85K could also see some attraction there before a nice bounce afterwards. Now, if we look at the 1 week heat map, then what we could see is we do have a lot of liquidation levels to the upside. So let me actually refresh this a little bit. Sometimes the data wants to come up, sometimes it doesn't. So here you can see we have a little bit of 88.2 on the, hold on. Let me get the weekly up one more time. Okay, here we go. This is what I was talking about. So 93.8K. A lot of liquidity up higher, right? There's not as much lower. Technically, you could say this little area here, 83.2. But besides that, it's looking very good for further room to the upside, guys. And so these are the targets I'd be looking at. Still a lot more room higher. And so keep that in mind, is we could see much, much higher with these levels. And so that's an area I'm watching very, very closely. Let me actually see if I can change the way the screen looks real quick for you guys. Let's see if I can. Give me 2 seconds. I want to make sure I can actually adjust this screen. There we go. Okay. Because I want to make sure you guys are seeing everything clearly. Okay. I guess that's going to be it for how much we can see the screen. But nonetheless, so yeah, so that's what I'm looking at right now for the data on that. But yeah, I think that we still have a lot of liquidity to the upside, so still some good room to run on there. Now, where are we at as far as news items go? Well, there's been a lot of news items over the past week, so we'll go over that real quick. Also, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll answer them after this little news item review here. So, some big ones that have happened over the past week. Well, we've had Michael Saylor continuing to buy more Bitcoin. No surprise there. Now, something that did cause a lot of FUD in the market was when the Trump administration reviewed a proposal to allow the IRS to access and tax Americans' foreign crypto data. So this was very, very big when it came out, because most people are using foreign crypto accounts to avert taxes, right? But at the end of the day, if the United States government actually gets access to that data, then they can end up taxing those people again. So just be careful and be mindful, guys, of this, because at the end of the day, you always have to be ready, and always be ready to pay taxes if you aren't. So I always recommend people pay taxes. Also using Coinly. Coinly is a great tax platform. Koinly. Great tax platform there. Now, scrolling up, also some positive news is Trump said a $2,000 tariff dividend will be sent to Americans by mid-2026. This is very important, guys. This could be a huge catalyst, because think about it. Whenever we had that stimulus during COVID, how much did everything pump? A lot. And that was a $1,500 stimulus. This is a $2,000 stimulus, okay? So you see how much everything's going up. So during that time, be ready for potentially some front running to start in Q1. I think it's going to be there's going to be a lot of catalysts around that time. And I do think Q1 is going to be an echo bubble. I think Q1 is going to be very bullish for us. And so get ready. Probably going to have some chop in December, maybe small little rally, but I think Q1 is going to be where things are really going to start getting big. So keep an eye on that. Now, also we have El Salvador buying $100 million worth of Bitcoin. Some great news there. And we also had Saudi Arabia investing $1 trillion in the United States. So the Crown Prince raised their investment from $600 billion to $1 trillion. So amazing when you see that, and you can see exactly, how much they're investing in the United States and where they're putting their money. So I know Trump respects that. Trump has a lot of power, and now other countries are following suit. So anything that's good for the US will eventually be good for crypto, because like I said, everything is interconnected there. Now, also something interesting with Trump, what he said was he would love to replace the Fed Chair Jerome Powell right now. This was on November 18th. And this is very important because Powell isn't cutting rates as much or as quickly as Trump would like. And he really wants to replace him. Now, he already knows who he will pick to replace Jerome Powell as Fed Chair. And also, Trump said that he'll decide on the next Fed Reserve Chair before Christmas. And so that's also another catalyst where if he announces that, that could even be a nice little pump in and of itself. Now, something else I want to mention is with the rate cuts, right? He was saying that Jerome Powell isn't cutting rates as quickly as possible. Well, rate cuts, the chance of a rate cut happening in December actually rose from 22% literally to 70% overnight once the economic data came out. And so that's where I think that, okay, we're going to have a little 25 basis point rate cut. Obviously, Trump wants larger rate cuts, like 50 basis points or 100 basis points. But at the end of the day, something is better than nothing, and perception is reality. So if people perceive that more rate cuts are going to happen, then in general, they deem that as important and significant. Therefore, the market will pump accordingly. Now, also something quickly here is Elon Musk was seen at the White House dinner. Why is this important? Well, as you know, Trump and Elon had a little spat a couple months back, and that I want to say that caused a lot of FUD in the market. But anytime you're having two titans go at it, it's not good for anyone, right? Especially where Tesla is potentially one of the biggest AI companies, and you have Trump obviously being the president of the United States. And so there's a lot of friction there. And Elon being the world's richest man, now that they're actually back together, it's going to be very good for the economy, very good for cohesion, and in general, good for the markets. So great to see on that front. And then also, we have Ray Dalio saying 1% of his portfolio is in Bitcoin. So Ray Dalio is one of the guys, I think he's the author of The Changing World Order, where he's a very popular economist, very smart economist. He talks about the rise and fall of global superpowers. And the fact that he's put 1% of his port in Bitcoin shows us that he is still confident that Bitcoin could be global superpower. He could increase that 1%. You could say isn't too much, but granted, if someone's worth, billions of dollars, then 1% of that's not too bad either. So interesting to see with that. And then also Nvidia reported 57 billion in revenue, higher than expectations. Now, why is this important? Well, Nvidia is one of the top tech companies of the world, and one of the major tech companies akin to Tesla, Meta, Amazon, etc. So the fact that Nvidia reported better earnings than expected shows us that the AI bubble is still strong. And even the CEO of Nvidia, Jensen, was saying, hey, as long as we're beating the expectations, we're still in the AI bubble. But the minute we actually don't meet expectations, then that's when the AI bubble is popped. And then that's when you see everything going down. So a lot of these tech companies, believe it or not, they control the overall market because they're, one, a gauge of where sentiment is at, but at the same time, where the economy is at. Okay, so if tech's doing good, that means the economy's doing better. People are confident. People are going to go more risk on, etc. So that's good for us. So always pay attention to these earnings of these big tech companies. Now, where else are we at? Well, we had a few other important events. This is more of a privacy thing. X launched the country of origin labels on all user profiles. So if you want to know where someone is based out of, all you do is go to their account on your desktop, click the three dots, click about this account, and you can see where they're based at. So very interesting here. A lot of people have used this to, spy on people, if you will. So yeah, it's interesting to say the least. But as you can see, privacy is actually very important to people, and that's why Zcash, Monero, all those privacy tokens were doing very good. And I think this emphasizes that of how much people like privacy, because how much backlash there was against this. And so that's just something else why privacy is such a big narrative. Then also we had Eric Trump saying this is a great time to buy Bitcoin. Oh, Eric. Now, last time he said it was a great time to buy ETH, it tanked over 40%. Let's hope this isn't the same, but nonetheless, he does have a lot of insights into the market, and I'm sure he's not just saying that willy-nilly. I'm sure that he does know there's some good stuff coming down the pipeline, especially in December. I know I went over it fast, but with Brian Armstrong, he says there's been a lot of progress on crypto market structure legislation and could pass in December. So again, guys, more catalysts for December. We have rate cuts. We have this legislation passing. We have quantitative tightening ending. A lot of catalysts for December. So stay tuned for that. That's why I do believe there'll be a nice little bounce in the markets. And then last but not least, we have Treasury Secretary Bessent saying the entire economy is not at risk of recession. So economy potentially averted a recession, right? So that's good. Great news that the economy is doing better than expected, and we could see continued upside from here. Now let's go ahead and answer some of you guys' questions here. Let's see what you got for me. So Lucas says, what do you think about Brett? I don't like Brett. I think its time is come and gone. Christopher says, all this for free. This needs more attention. Hey, Christopher, love it. I love it. I appreciate that. And I try to provide you guys as much value as possible. Honestly, I do. And I'm glad that you're enjoying this content. And yes, it's all for free. I mean, I give you guys an hour of great content, and it's my way of giving back, right? And so if you guys aren't following me on X, by the way, at the CryptoData, definitely do so. I'll give you guys a lot of good content. I'll actually post my account in the chat if you guys haven't followed me there. But yeah, post a lot of good content, guys, and try to keep you guys updated as much as possible. So appreciate the comment there. Zuli says, is the collateral something we should decide, or is it something we should calculate percentage based or with a formula? So not sure what you mean. Is the collateral something we should decide or something we should calculate? So collateral, if you're talking about how much you're investing in something, I mean, I would only do 1 to 2% investing into maybe a trade, 1 to 2% of your portfolio. That'd be good risk management. Pachito says, thanks for sharing. Ain't no problem. Zalan says, what do you think about Pangu and Nobody's Sausage? So Pangu, I was slightly bullish on for Q4. It's done very bad. And so I would say Pangu's probably not the best. Meme coins in general, guys, meme coins are underperforming vastly compared to the overall market. We're still in a very rotation heavy game. And we see narratives such as privacy narrative is doing good, Zcash, XMR, etc. AI tokens are doing good. Tau is one of the top gainers. And so I think AI and privacy, you're pretty safe with those. Anything else like with memes, yes, we have some memes outperforming, obviously. But as far as long-term holds, I am not too bullish on either of those. Captain Price says Ethereum. Yeah, we're going to talk about Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana in the charting analysis portion of here. Probably in about another 15 minutes, we'll cover those. Christopher says, sorry for the questions. It's probably diabolical, but how do you actually, we screen for potential coins, either for long or shorting? No, Chris, not a bad question at all. So for that, honestly, so I would just say you just need to look at the charts. And there's actually a screener on TradingView where you can screen it for, tokens that have their RSI below 30. That's oversold. Okay, that could be something you could look at as well. And that could be a good value proposition risk reward wise if they're at a good buy level. Now, afterwards, you need to look at support and resistance. Now, that's not enough, right? You got to look at what the overall narrative is. You have to look at X, what tokens are pumping. The easiest way to do that is look at the top gainers of the day. So the 24-hour top gainers, we'll go over that and see what tokens are pumping the most. And then from there, what narrative are they? Do they have more room to run? How does their chart look? Are they overbought? Are they due for a pullback or not? That's just something to keep in mind there. So just watch that for when that does happen. Now, other than that, let's see. DJ Kurt says fake pumps. Yeah, could very well be a fake pump. DJ Kurt, are you the guy that's always DMing me on Instagram? I think I recognize your name there. Elvis, ACD, if we have downwards trend for some time now and we say the trend is your friend, why no short calls in GH? So here's the thing with that, Elvis. So the trend is your friend, yes, but we're trying to time these bounces. So for example, when the RSI is oversold, the stock RSI is oversold, we're at major support on the daily or weekly timeframes, and we've been in extreme fear for X amount of days, and we've had X amount of ETF outflows, then a relief bounce should happen. Now, I'll show you the chart in a minute. We've basically been in a downtrend since end of October. And so at that point, there's not much you can do when you literally just have more selling. Even when the indicators are oversold, they just keep going down more and more, right? That's much harder to time. And yes, the trend is your friend. So yes, shorts are paying more, obviously. But at the time, it's just all about probabilities. And if you have indicators that are in confluence with what you're looking at, and they say we should have a bounce and it doesn't happen, well, that's just part of the game, part of the statistics where you could potentially lose 3 or 4 times out of 10. And so it's still within the realm of probabilities. Let's see. But yes, we'll still call shorts in GH. Absolutely. Zuli says, any idea who the new chair could be? Besides, it'll be rather dovish. So I don't know who the chair would be. But yeah, either way, like you said, it will be dovish. Because Trump is going to choose someone who's going to cut rates massively and do the things that he wants. And so expect whoever he hires to be a yes man and to just go crazy with the rate cuts. Which at that point, the market's going to be full risk on. What's going on, Umhawks? So I'm actually not Luke. I am John Luke. So we may sound similar, but different people here. Lewis says, thoughts on Aster? I'm still invested and actually opened a 10x long at 108. So we'll look at the chart as well on Aster, Lewis. But yeah, I have to look at why it's been declining over the past few days because it did have a strong performance recently. TextPlot says, hey, CD, what are some good prices to buy Bitcoin spot in your opinion? I bought some at 92, 85, and 88. So some good spot buys are 78 and then 68 to 72. Great levels. Umox, we'll also check the Solana chart as well, and we'll see what's going on with that. And then scalps on crypto. Yeah, we can still definitely do some scalps on crypto, especially with longs. What's going on, AB? Good to see you here. Zalin, only 50 people here, and you've given the sauce that's so funny. Thanks, man. Hey, no problem, Zalin. I try to give as much info as I can. You guys are the lucky few that are getting it. FinViz is a good screener. Appreciate that, Zinzin. Galen, hey, what's going on? Good to see you here. Christopher says, thanks a lot for the answer, CD. I'll make sure to join regularly. Been so busy on med school stuff. Oh, wow. Respect for that, Christopher. Med school's no joke. So congrats for that. I know you're going to do great things in that field. And yeah, med school is definitely a lot of information, a lot of work, but you put in the work and you will see the fruits of your labor. Awesome, guys. Let's go over some macro news now. Some macro charts with TradFi. We'll go over a crypto overview, ETF flows, and then we'll go over some charts for Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, and others. So for the S&P, I literally drew this line a couple weeks back and is following it to a T. The S&P is declining. We had bearish divergence on the RSI, lower high on RSI, higher high on price. Now, we have to see if the S&P can get back above the 6640 level. It was previous support, now turned resistance. It's going to be a big deal. Luckily, the crypto market is still going higher despite the S&P going lower. So not as correlated as they once were. The next major support is going to be 6400. Now looking for gold. Gold's a hedge against deflation, a hedge against uncertainty. So the fact that it is increasing, just like we drew a couple weeks back, still following this line perfectly, shows me that people are still slightly risk off in the market, right? They're still focused on gold because of the uncertainty in the macro environment, uncertainty with rate cuts and other things. But nonetheless, I do think gold could have that potential to go a little bit higher. But at the same time, again, it's not inversely correlated with crypto, right? Because we've seen in the past TradFi go up and gold go up, and then crypto went up as well. So like it's not as inversely correlated as it used to be. People still invest in both. Now, oil futures, nothing crazy there, around 58. But DXY, this is very important, the strength of the dollar here, because it's at resistance at $100.20. It's rejected multiple times from here in the past. The weekly close did close below it. And so now the question becomes, if we do have a rejection on USDT, or on, not USDT, but on the DXY, then we could see a nice little pump, further pump in Bitcoin and crypto. So the RSI is at 56, still some room to go to the upside. But like I said, if we reject here, could be very good for crypto prices. Now let's look at the overall market. So let's go ahead and refresh here. Bitcoin's at 87.6. Amazing run, guys. Amazing run on Bitcoin. Anyone that longed are doing very, very good right now. Ethereum's at 28.30, so doing great with that. And we have BNB at 851. Solana's at 132, still doing very, very well. And now the top gainers, Zcash, like I mentioned, privacy is very big, 19.8%, HBAR 19%, Tau 13%. I mean, guys, these are doing very, very well. So I do believe we did hit that bottom there. So great to see there for anyone that got in it. Again, when we do have a daily close, we'll confirm if we're going to have a long or not. So great to see that with the market. And like I said, AI token narrative with Tau, privacy narrative with Zcash, and even XMR up here. So yeah, a lot of good price action, guys. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. Still believe we're going to have a continued relief bounce. Now, extreme for the fear and greed index, we're in extreme fear for 9 days in a row. I mean, we haven't been this deep in extreme fear. I think probably 2022 was the last time we were here. So what does that mean? That means that the risk reward opportunity is getting even better with being in extreme fear. People are still out of the market. People still haven't gotten confident to buy in the market yet. So better for us, especially when you have confluence with your support levels, with your indicators being oversold, etc. So still good for us. Still means that risk reward is still on our side. Now, looking at ETF flows, Solana's ETF flows have been positive the whole time. They've gotten more institutions now for the ETF flows, and they're still very positive. So good to see on that. Now, Bitcoin, on the other hand, okay, it had a lot of outflows. And something I want to point out to you guys is November 20th, we had $900 million of outflows. What does this mean? This means that this usually marks a local bottom because we had a ton of outflows, and now people are offsides to the downside. So now we should have some spring back to the upside, which that's what we saw on Friday, 238 million. So here's a little alpha for you guys who are watching this right now. Anytime there's big outflows like this, between 900 million to 1 billion plus, usually we have a bounce within a few days. That's how it works. It's been like that for a long time. Same goes to the opposite end, right? If we have, say, near $1 billion of inflows, well, usually it marks local top. And so just keep that in mind. And that is something that I'm watching very closely. And then also for Ethereum, I mean, Ethereum had outflows for 9 days in a row. 9 days in a row, guys. And finally on Friday, it had inflows. So Ethereum could have a little bounce here. We're going to have to watch and see. But the matter of the fact is, you know, the market could be doing good, and we could have a nice little relief bounce here. So love to see it on that. And then also, let's go ahead and look at Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin, I mean, you can't ask for much better than this, guys. The stock RSI is starting to form a little descending wedge here. The RSI is oversold as well, now curving to the upside, potentially crossing above its signal line. Now, guys, here's the alpha I was going to share with you guys here. Look at this little rocket symbol I have. Look at the little rocket symbol. Okay, why is that important? Well, last time we had it, look at that. Little bounce. Boom. Last time we had it, little bounce. Last time, a little bounce. Before that, look at that. Bigger bounce. Before that, much bigger bounce. and then slight bounce, right? But y'all are seeing the pattern here where this rocket symbol is happening before these big bounces happen, okay? And here, I mean, gosh, here was crazy. We had a huge bounce on this one. But now, with where the chart's at, I mean, we're looking good. This rocket hasn't confirmed yet. I'm waiting for it to confirm. And then, I mean, you can see how much higher we're going. So beautiful, guys. Also, some more alpha. I have another indicator. It's proprietary to myself. I actually created it myself. But look at this. Look at my indicator here. Okay, let me go ahead and remove a lot of the drawings. Look at this, guys. Look at this X that was formed. I think, actually, hold on. Is there a better, let me actually do a different one. Right there. Look at this, guys. This X here. Literally mark the bottom. Boom, going higher. Mark the bottom, going higher. Mark the top, going lower. Mark the bottom, going higher. Mark the top eventually, right? Round it over. Boom. So, yeah, very nice marking the bottom here. Congrats on that. Love to see it. So that's another thing, guys, is I'm going to start using more of these indicators because the trading style I had before wasn't working. You saw with the past few calls. And so now I'm changing the way I'm trading, changing the way I'm analyzing charts, because you could say I changed it a little bit. And now in this current market environment, I need to start looking at these charts that are really, really going to the extremes with mean reversion trades, right? And that's what you really have to focus on at the end of the day. So great to see here. Great to see with this. Stock RSI is getting overbought. RSI still has room to go though, so still looks good for us. But let's go ahead and look at the support and resistance levels. So here is just another double X here. So this could be a nice bottom. Let's see over the past. Okay, so you can see here this X had a nice little bounce here. Let's see on the daily if we had a, oh yeah, right here. Okay, so this one we had 1X. It didn't go that much, but then a second one, it went much higher. Okay, so we could still have some room to go, right? Still have some room to go here. So keep an eye on that. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and take this indicator off and let's bring back the drawings. All right, so Bitcoin now is getting over its 86.4K level. Now data, why do you have 86.4K? Because that's where the resistance was Monday, March 17th. And now it is looking like it wants to close above. We have the weekly close, I believe. What is it in, let's see, was it 14? So what, 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours, we have the weekly close. And so I think that we're gonna do very, very good with this weekly close. Things are looking great there. And if we close above, then I'm gonna look at longs. I'm definitely gonna start looking at longs. And I think it's, like I've been telling you guys, I think we're due for a bounce. All the indicators we're looking at with the RSI, stock RSI, and even this little rocket indicator here, it's looking very, very, very good. So yeah, guys, I think it may be time. I think it may be time that we finally have a relief bounce here. I know it's been a long time coming, but I think we're getting close to it. So next support for Bitcoin will be 78K. I know you guys were asking about that. And then below that was 68 to 72. Why do I have those levels? Well, 78K was the big support level for on March 31st where we bounced, and then 68 to 72, huge area of resistance turn support levels here. So great, great buy area. And then also you have the 200 EMA on the weekly, which is some more alpha for you guys. 200 EMA on the weekly, November 17th is where it's at right now, 67K. So, I mean, in the past, the 200 EMA weekly has been very big support. You can actually see that if we go to a chart with more history, like on Binance, which also I have this long-term trend line here, which you can see. I mean, you guys are getting a lot of alpha today, all this for free, is you see here this trend line I drew on Bitcoin, and it's intersected, and then it intersected as support here. It was resistance, resistance, support, support. Keep going. Boom. You see what I'm saying, guys? And so if we ever get near this 67K level, 66, 67K, you guys better be ready to buy. Like, you guys better be ready to buy if we get near this trend line. I mean, this is straight up alpha, guys. Like, a lot of valuable information here. So that's what I'm looking at. Now, data, where's resistance at? Well, 92K, a big level. You can see where we bounced prior. So yeah, 92K would be the big level I'd look at for resistance. And so keep that in mind. But yeah, levels I'm watching. Need to close daily above 86.4K. then we'll be good to go. I'll go over Ethereum and Solana, and then I will answer some of you guys' questions. So Ethereum, nice little rounded bottom. I was analyzing this earlier on. RSI is oversold, curving to the upside. Stock RSI is curving to the upside, looking beautiful on Ethereum, looking great. If we close above 2830 on the daily, it's going to be very, very bullish. We just had the rocket symbol here. Nice little bottom signal. Very, very beautiful. If we go to my candle matrix indicator, let's see what it's looking like here. Let me go ahead and remove the drawings again. 1 second. Okay, let's see if we can go over the 4 hour here. So the 4 hour marked the bottom over here. It did not mark it down here, unfortunately. Nice little bottom there. Nice little bottom there. Nice little top eventually. And oh, very nice bottom here. So top here, right? So yeah, we haven't got the green X here, unfortunately, but Bitcoin has it. So now we're doing very, very well on that. Let's go ahead and unhide the drawings again. So yeah, what am I looking at for Ethereum right now? Well, Ethereum's big resistance is going to be 2930 to 3050 up here, because you can see that was previous support, turn resistance here. The big closest alligator to the boat, so to speak, is 2830 or 2820, I should say, because that was resistance June 10th. We got to close back above this level, and then we can start looking at 2930 to 3050 there. After that, 3270, where we had previous support, turn resistance, is going to be very, very big. So like I said, with the indicators, they look very good for a reversal here. Things are looking good for Ethereum. And finally, obviously, support for Ethereum, last but not least, 2750 and then 2680 around this trend line. Again, guys, more alpha for you guys. Thank you for watching the free live stream. You guys are getting all the sauce. But here, support, 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 where it wicked off of. And now look where it wicked off. Literally at this trend line with the 200 weekly EMA. Guys, the sauce is overflowing on this stream. 200 weekly EMA with this trend line. Perfect support, guys. So anytime we get near 2670, 2680, that'd be a buy on Ethereum. But yeah, 2750 is support and 2680 is support. Last but not least, Solana. Also, we got 66 viewers and only 28 likes. If you guys could like the stream, it would be awesome. It's much, much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, guys. It means a lot. Now, where are we at for Solana? Well, Solana looking beautiful. Looking beautiful, guys. We have 1 second. We got the RSI crossing to the upside. We got the stock RSI now crossing to the upside above its signal line. The rocket indicator was the 22nd. But look at that. The rocket indicator called that perfectly, guys. You can't. I mean, this is perfect. You literally can't write this any better. And we got another one, little rocket one. So again, it was right 1 out of 3 times. What can you say? Solana, it's not as accurate, but nonetheless, bullish divergence on the RSI and stock RSI, lower low price, and then RSI is making a higher low. Stock RSI is making a higher low. Looking good so far. Next resistance for Solana, it's going to be this trend line. It's going to be about 139, 140. Same as with this previous resistance. And then 145 is going to be the big one, because you can see here it bounced off of the S support, now turn resistance. So if you're in a Solana long, 139 and 145, good areas to take some profits. And then for support, 117 to 125. Going to be big support, because here where we bounced, resistance, support, support, resistance. And so, yeah. And then below that, 103, because where we bounced from in the past on April 8th. So that is the TA portion. And also, last but not least, looking at the Polymarket data for the percent chance of a rate cut. Right now, it's 70%, guys. You can see what I mean. It was at 22%. It's in orange, where you see 25 BPS decrease. 22% on November 20th. Now it's 70%. I mean, crazy just seeing that change, right? But this is why we're pumping, guys. Market loves itself a good rate cut. We front run the rate cuts, usually to sell the news by the time it comes around, but nonetheless, still a positive catalyst ahead of time. So now let's go over the questions. Also, guys, if you aren't following me on X at the CryptoData, definitely do so. Try to provide you guys the best content possible. I'll link it again in the chats. All right, let's see. Just looking at a few others. All right, James says, ACD, you've said in the past broadcast, but I forgot what's a good cold storage wallet. I've heard you mention Ledger before. So Trezor, actually, James, and I'll go ahead and Trezor. Yeah, Trezor is better than Ledger because of security reasons. Ledger had a little security breach where it leaked customers' data. I don't know how long, I think maybe 4 years ago, maybe longer. But Trezor hasn't had as many security breaches, and so technically Trezor is better. Tazuli, do you think we'll get back to ZERP again? So 0% interest rates with the new chair. Ooh, great question, Zuli. You know, I'm not sure. I haven't done as much research for that. I don't know if we'll get to 0% per se. That'd be wild if we did, though. Imagine that. I mean, gosh, the money printer would be turned on. Everything would be pumping like 2021. I think there's a chance we'll get back down to 2% interest rate. I think it's a very, very, very strong possibility. And so I know Trump wants to get inflation down to 2%, I believe. And so that's going to be another nice little catalyst. Talk says, hey, I've opened along on BTC 7X at 84,260. Do you think it'll reach 90K? It's possible, but Talk Spark. Remember what we talked about with the heat map. So remember on the 24-hour, there was a lot of liquidity near this 88K level. So I would look to take some profits near 88K, maybe like 87.9, 88K. If I were you, okay, you may even want to take a little profits now, to be honest with you, because we did reach this liquidity zone here. But yeah, definitely around 88K, you want to take some profits, absolutely. And then take some more at 90, 92. That'd be my strategy. Bruno says, how much leverage you use on scalps? So for scalps, Bruno, it depends, but usually I'll use around 10x, 10 to 15x if I'm doing scalps. Because for scalps, usually you're just expecting a short move to the upside. Now, it's not always necessarily 10 to 15x. Sometimes it could be 5x, and I could just be looking for a quick move higher. But usually it's probably around 10 on average. Ed says, Tau halving in December. Good point, Ed. Thank you for reminding me of that. Guys, so Zcash had its halving. That's why it pumped, if I remember correctly. And then now that Tau is having its halving in December, that's another reason why it's pumping, right? So guys, pay attention to halving. Pay attention to unlock dates. Hyperliquid has their unlocks, I believe, November 28th or 29th. So less than a week of over $7 billion of unlocks. And so that's why Hype has been struggling a little bit. But usually we see a pump prior to unlocks because VCs want to unlock their tokens, venture capitalists who invested early. They want some exit liquidity. So usually that's when marketing is pushed, etc. But just something to keep in mind. Appreciate that, Ed. Also, guys, I will say, Ed is an amazing trader. That guy knows how to trade. I've seen his profit screenshots over and over. Amazing trading, Ed. Ed, I'm curious how long you've been in trading or how long you've traded for because you're very, very good. Zuli says, like the stream, guys. Yes, please like the stream. It'd mean the world, guys. 68 viewers, only 43 likes. Would appreciate a like. Wealth Management Brand says, what's up, CD? Hey, good to see you, Wealth Management Brand. Always good to have you here. Lucky Luke, what do you think about CME close and gap being created? Do you think that we will tap 84.6K before going higher? Great question. Lucky Luke. Let's see the CME gap. All right, let's see where we're at here. So I'm going to look on the hourly chart. Let's see. Okay, where is that CME gap you're talking about? Is it way in the past, I'm assuming? Let me go on the daily. Let's see. CME gap. Because we hit the one at 92. Is there another one I'm not seeing? There was this one, but we already got that. Yeah, let me know what CME gap you're talking about. Because I don't see it, unless I'm just missing it completely. I don't see a gap. But yeah, let me know which one. Let me know if you're seeing it or if there's something I'm missing. Angel says, XRP looking solid. It held pretty well above $2. Let's go ahead and check out XRP. Oh, nice. Yeah, got back above 2. Let's go and look at some indicators. Nice little green dot here for reversal. Very, very nice. Getting back above 2, which is a major psychological level. Also was major resistance. Stock RSI is crossing to the upside from oversold, crossing above its signal line. You have the RSI close to crossing above its signal line as well. Things are looking good, guys, for a little reversal here. Very nice. The next resistance for XRP would be around 211, followed by 230. Lucky Luke, also a lot of heat liquidation on 81.6. Do you think we'll hit this before going up? You know, my gut says no. I don't think we'll go that low. I think maybe 83, 84K, but I don't think we're going lower than that for now. Dreamer says, hey, how you doing, CD? Still waiting on your replay at Discord. Let's see. My replay at Discord. I think the mods will work on uploading that again, Dreamer, but appreciate that. Chud Jack, yo, John Luke, do you remember me saying it'll go to 80s before it breaks the range? Yes, I do, Chud Jack. Congratulations on that. You called that to a T, man. Like, you guys are very smart. The chat is very smart. You guys know what you're talking about. A lot of good predictions, a lot of good hits, especially over this whole downturn. So kudos to you guys. Remaining unbiased is the key to a great trader and focusing on the data and removing emotions out of the equation. Fran says, great stuff. I'm bullish 2026. Awesome. Yeah, Q1, guys. Q1 should be very good. That's some alpha for you guys. Simone says, do you think if we close above 87K and below the resistance on USDT dominance, we should see that relief rally in the market? I think so. And thank you for reminding me about the USDT dominance chart. That was something I wanted to go over. Again, guys, more alpha for you guys here. I mean, I had it on a different chart. Hold on. Let me pull it up from a different chart real quick. I think, was it right here? I think it was this one. Yeah, guys, look at this. Literally, USDT dominance rejected perfectly off this 6.4% level. I mean, this is money. This is money, guys, and we're having a nice little relief rally. You love to see this. So, again, if you're looking at USDT dominance, basically measures how many people are in stables versus not. So, when it goes to the downside, that means people are getting out of stables, buying Bitcoin and altcoins like it is going down now, reaching rejection as the RSI is overbought. Nice little relief rally. Yeah, absolutely. I do think so. Zalon says, what do you think in the next leg up? How much of a person can make in a portfolio if he has decent information if you're not trading, investing? You know, that's a good question. Now, if you're asking how much you can make, it just depends, right? If you're asking about the Q1 rally I'm thinking we'll have, you can make probably 100, 150%. I think it's realistic. I think you invest in the right things, absolutely. But you just need to be patient. That's the biggest thing in managing risk appropriately. Lewis says, I know Luke is still bullish for Aster going to $2. Thoughts on the chart? Yeah, let's go ahead and go over Aster real quick. I know a lot of people have been asking about that. So, let's go over, man, there's just a lot of noise here, honestly. But let's see. So Aster's not looking the best right now. And again, this support, resistance right here is just something that I would just watch out for because it is closing below this. The RSI is closing down. So I'd need to see some relief for Aster in the near future. The RSI is still, I mean, it's not too bad on the 4 hour, but like I said, if Aster wants to get bullish again, it's got to close above 116. If it closes above 116 on the daily, fine. And I'll get bullish again. But just right now, I mean, it needs to show some strength and close back above this support turn resistance. And then if so, then I'd be looking for 138 as the next one. But if not, 89 cents, great support level. If you want to buy before then $1, psychological level there. And also lines up here with support. So remember, the level where CZ is defending is around 91 cents. That's where everyone is clowning him for needing to buy. So that's something to watch out for. Vinny says, long Solana at 143. Should I hold or close near 140 if it gets there, or close now? I would look to close near about 138. 138, Vinny. Divine, what do you think of ETH? I think ETH short. I think most altcoins right now are short-term bullish. Lucky Luke, I mean, close on 84.6 and price being at 87.5. Oh, I got you, Lucky Luke. Okay, yeah. So usually CME fills that kind of gap. Yeah, that's possible, right? Because we're forming that kind of gap. That could vary. Actually, you make a great point there. That could very well lead us to having a pullback to that level because usually price comes back to that previous CME close. Yeah. I'd have to look at the history of how many times it does that, but I do know it's more than half. Aqua G says, how much impact do you think retail traders really have in the market in comparison to the algo institutions and market makers? You know, I don't think they have much. I don't think retail traders are going to move the market like institutions or these, big market makers are. I think there's something, but at the end of the day, like they'll move it a little bit, a couple %, but they're not going to move it crazy amounts. Divine says Monday always comes with consolidations. Exactly. Wealth Management says, what do you think about SUI right now? 130, almost at the 52-week lows. Yeah, SUI's been getting beat down, hasn't it? I mean, SUI's just been horrible. Like, let's see if we go to the weekly. Yeah, SUI Sui's a sad one. I mean, you just look at that chart, you can't help but feel sorry for it, right? Like, it tried. There's some good support here. It just literally cut through it like butter. I'd be careful betting on Sui. If you're going to bet on Sui, I'd wait until 56 cents. Honestly, it sounds horrible waiting for that low, but I mean, you just have nothing to go off of, right? The daily, I mean, look at that daily RSI. It's super low. Yes, we can probably get the stock RSI going well. Let's see. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, stock RSI is oversold. Let's see. Let's see what happens. But yeah, I'm not confident on Sui, honestly. I mean, if we look at the weekly, again, it's just not, I mean, maybe here because of where this resistance was on April 15th. So it could be a Hail Mary play at 138. I mean, if you're going to long it, technically here, not horrible, but just, I would have your stop loss at like 128 below this wick. I'd have it at 128 and just hope it doesn't go below there. That'd be my play for that if you want to play Sui right now. Ed says, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Been mainly learning crypto since 2023, but trading since late 24. Learned SR in your paid group, which was a game changer in my strat. Hey, appreciate you, Ed. Thank you so much for the shout out as well. Glad you are learning a lot. Again, SR is the best thing to learn. Support resistance, guys, at the end of the day. That's going to help you become successful, and that's going to help you stay in the game longer, especially if you're buying at major support versus just buying, in the middle of nowhere. Aqua G, do you feel the need to adapt your trading strategy in order to keep up with the traders today that use order flow, advanced indicators, AI? I mean, not... Okay, I will say yes. Yes, because the game has changed. Most traders are experienced now. It's not like it was last cycle, the cycle before. Like, everyone is experienced. Therefore, counter trading sentiment doesn't work as good as it used to. And you need to be quicker because people are taking profits quicker. And so you have to adjust your strategy that way. And so, yes, I would say I am adjusting it accordingly. Confluence is still key. SR lines, oversold indicators, overbought indicators, ETF flows, etc. But you still have to be ready to adjust accordingly. And if the market's doing something different, like continuing down no matter what, then yes, you have to adjust your strategy. You have to take profits quicker. If you're going to take scalp longs, you have to be able to, short longer, even when indicators are close to oversold. Like, there's various things you have to do. And so, yes, absolutely, that does cause me to reanalyze my analysis as far as indicators that I'm using and what I'm looking at. I'm pulling out some indicators that I haven't used in a while, and I'm finding those are more accurate than what I've been using currently. And so, yeah, I think it's just the trait of a successful trader is being able to adapt to the overall market regardless of his own bias, his or her own bias, right? And so you have to be able to take that information, what it's given you, look at the data. If it's not working for you, then hey, start using something else, okay? And that's what you have to be willing to do. Wazik says, Sol can go to $100? Yes, absolutely it can. And that would be a big area to buy. Galen says, what do you think about bear market being in place since it's going to be a second weekly close under the 50 EMA? I think it's very possible that the bear market could be in place. I mean, we really gotta close above that 50 weekly EMA, right? And here, let me open it on this chart. We really got to close above that 50 weekly EMA, and that's something that we've been talking about as well in the stream, is this 50 weekly EMA here, right? This green line where it bounced, but it closed below it, and now it's closing much more below. So what I would equate this to, and let me go ahead and take away the drawings real quick so you guys can see it clearer. What I would equate this to, just how much it's bounced and it closed below, is this here, right? Probably something, but you can see the, how it looks similar to what happened here, where you had a huge close down below and then just kept going down. Now, I don't know if it's going to go this deep, but matter of the fact is there's a huge price decrease. And what was that down? 63%. Now, if we go 63%, that's going to be right here, right? 37K. That'd be wild if we go that low, but anything's possible at the end of the day. But at the same time, you just, you have to have an open mind, right? But yeah, I do think it's not good at all that we're closing this far below the 50 weekly EMA. So just be mindful. And yeah, if we're in a bear market, then just trade accordingly. Pachito says, Astra seems to forming cup and handle, in my opinion. Definitely could be. Awkward. How do you feel about prediction markets? I think it's going to be the new thing since NFTs and meme coins are dying. Yeah, prediction markets are very big. We're seeing Polymarket partner with the UFC. We're seeing Kalshi being one of the top prediction markets. I absolutely think it's the future. Mo says, do you think 2026 will be green? I think Q1 of 26 will be green, but we may have a little bear market after that. Zalin says, if FWOG already pumped 50% today, is that mean good? I mean, 50% is good, but I'd definitely take some profits if you haven't. Because usually after large pumps, you have retracements or consolidation. Bruno says, trade options. What are your thoughts on it? I don't trade options. It can be good for a hedge, especially if you understand them well with all the Greeks and stuff on Deribit and other option platforms, but I don't trade on them. What about Tangem? Oh, for wallets, Daniel? I think Tangem is good. I've heard good things, I think, about Tangem. I have to look again, though, but also Keystone. Keystone's a good cold storage wallet, along with Trezor. Awkward says, what's your reasoning on longing downtrends, considering price can remain at oversold for long periods of time? Wouldn't it be more reasonable to short? It would be more reasonable to short, but it's hard to time it, right? Because if your indicators are oversold, statistically speaking, they should mean revert in the near future. But if they keep going down, well, that's when you go to trend trading instead of mean reversion trading. So that's when you're looking at EMAs, looking at waiting for crosses above that and having that being your invalidation, etc. So yeah, absolutely. It's just all depending on what style of trading you want, mean reversion or trend trading. Lewis says, thanks, John Luke. Hey, no problem, Lewis. Glad I could help. Chris says, CD, thank you so much for sharing. I need to catch some sleep now. 3 a.m. here. Have a good one, y'all. Remember to touch grass, by the way. Hey, appreciate it, Chris. Have a good night, man. Thanks for listening. Awkward says, I think Brighter Data would be a perfect platform for you to use. They use statistics and data to help with trading. I'll check that out. Thanks, Awkward. Wasik said, say. Okay. Man, Say's looking rough. Yeah. If Say closes below 14.3 cents on this week, not going to be good. I'll tell you that right now. Say is just dying. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Yeah. We definitely need to get... Man, that looks bad. Sui, Say, like, come on now. Sui, I think, looks better than Say. If we're talking about comparing those. Lucky Luke says, what will happen with fear and greed index in bear market? Usually it stays in extreme fear for longer periods of time. So that's where the calculations aren't as accurate, unfortunately. So we're probably going to stray away from using the fear and greed index now, but just kind of using it as a sentiment check, but not overly relying on it like we have been. Awkward. When is the thesis of the 4-year cycle invalidated, do you think? So, I mean, technically October was the top, right? October was the 4-year. Now, when is it invalidated? It's invalidated if we reach all-time highs again. That's when it's invalidated. So above 126. If we don't get above all-time highs, then it's still validated that we're in a bear market from October. We'll see. Market can pump after December rate cuts. It could, but the market isn't as reliant on rate cuts. It's more reliant on quantitative tightening ending and quantitative easing starting. When quantitative easing starts, the market's going to pump like crazy. That's when you buy. So that usually happens 3 to 6 months after quantitative tightening ends, which is December 1st. And so usually you can expect maybe March through May. Look for it that way. Bruno says, anything to say about Hype? So Hype has their unlock November 28th or 29th, over $7 billion. I mean, it's hanging on by a thread, but there's just so much front running with people selling ahead of these unlocks. And so I would just be careful, guys. Like, if Hype closes above 31 on the weekly, maybe a good buy, but I'd just be careful. The next major buy for Hype would be 24 to 27, guys. If you can get it near 24 to 27, that would be my safer area to buy it, because right now you can see it's at resistance. And so, yeah, if I were you guys, I'd wait for 24 to 27 to buy with Hype. Low leverage, like 3x or less. Coffee says, at this point, I think placing trades at random has more chance of success than placing them based on your analysis. You think so, Coffee? You think so? It's interesting because the market is so unpredictable. And so I think that, again, when you're looking at these SR lines, you're looking at these indicators here. I mean, when you're looking at oversold levels, like the RSI and stock RSI, I mean, we're bouncing here, right? So that analysis is still working. And so just be patient, and the normal analysis still works. Now, you could place more trades at random, 100%. Go for it. But over time, that's not going to work for you. Wasik says, what is quantitative tightening? It's basically the Fed placing a limit to basically how much money the government can inject into the economy, and basically placing a cap on, how much money can be raised. And so for them, quantitative tightening being lifted and quantitative easing being started, I mean, the the Fed can turn the money printer on and start quantitative easing, which is injecting much more money into the economy. Lucky Luke, what's your new indicator's name? So Candle Matrix was the one where I had earlier. Was right. I think it was this one here. Yeah. It's called a Candle Matrix, and it's actually not bad. It very rarely triggers though. But yeah, this is one that I had. And then the other one, this is called a synergy indicator. So this one usually pops off when close to market bottoms. And so again, a lot of it's mean reversion based, a lot of indicators combined, but yeah, they tend to be fairly accurate. And I think I'll start using them a lot more. I haven't looked at them much, honestly, until recently. Awkward says, USDT and USDC are the most important charts to look at right now. The inverse reaction works well for confluence. Absolutely. And then Divine says, what do you think of XAU USD? So looking at gold. I mean, yeah, so I went over gold earlier. Now going over it on this chart. I mean, the stock RSI is kind of in the middle here. RSI is kind of in the middle. Nothing crazy on the daily, honestly. I would look for some support near 4,000, and then below that, 39.20. So yeah, gold's almost indifferent at this point, but at least it's above support, so it's tentatively still bullish. Wasik says, how do you handle this? So much drawing on the chart. It's just because you just look at important levels. It's all about confluence, right? So you look at EMAs, you look at support resistance lines, you look at trend lines, you look at indicators, and it just makes it easier, honestly. And because if you draw trend lines, like you could even draw this downtrend here. So, and then if it breaks that, maybe a little bullish, right? You'd want more touches at the end of the day, but you could say, okay, this may be forming a little symmetrical triangle. And at that point, whichever way it breaks, you know, we're going higher or lower. And so that's something where could we go like that, right? You see what I'm saying? So just different ways you can draw charts, but yeah, it's just all based off significant levels, supply and demand. What are you expecting from the market this week? Might have missed the apologies. Are we entering into bear soon? I think there's gonna be a little relief rally this week. I do still think December will be very choppy, and then Q1 will be bullish. So that is my thesis on that. But with that, guys, if you guys, that should end the stream right now. If you guys haven't liked the stream, I'd really appreciate you guys liking the stream. It means a lot. Hopefully, I explained a lot of stuff to you guys and helped you out. Again, provide a lot of alpha with the various charts. At the end of the day, interest rate cuts coming up in December with quantitative tightening ending and a few other positive catalysts should have us have a little rally into December. But as always, guys, manage your risk accordingly. Don't bet more than you can afford to lose. And as always, patience pays. So waiting for price to come to you, focusing on the data, removing emotion out of the equation. So thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you. Wasik, my RSI length is default. Awkward, no problem. Thank you guys. Thank you, Zuli. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you. Hopefully you guys have a great Sunday wherever you're at. Have a great day. Love you guys, and we'll talk soon.